Well, what is one process improvement that could transform your organization's ability to focus on the mission instead of getting drawn into what we could call as operational chaos? Well, welcome to the podcast. My name is Dr. Randy Gertz, and this is Funding Your Future Now podcast. It's designed for nonprofit presidents and fundraising leaders, although not exclusively, so it can be much broader to the leadership community that is out there. And just delighted today to have my guest, Holly Brown. And Holly, as I've gotten to know her, she just loves to be the resource for the entire team. So she can put the package together. You're going to hear about how she does that, whether it be working with interns or CEOs, and really being, I could call it a solutions orientated kind of an individual that sees an issue, knows how to solve the problem and bring it to the team so everybody can move forward in a good track. So, Holly, what a delight to have you here. Welcome to the podcast. And why don't you take a moment or two and just introduce yourselves to the audience?
Thank you so much. Hey, it's such an honor to be here. Um, I am a I was a homeschooling mom for a long time, and I was able to find the role as an executive assistant and got into operations while still being able to care for the kids. Now that the kids are in school full time, I have been able to just get even more involved with operations and small businesses and some nonprofits. So it's been such a great place for me to learn and grow and put my skills to work.
Oh, what a critical role you play in seeing the different players and the different pieces. And we're going to talk about a system that you utilize that I think would be very helpful for our nonprofit audience. So you talk about, as I've done a little research on you, about the buffer concept. I'd like you to explain what does that concept mean to a team, but more exclusively, how can you protect the CEO's time by using the buffer concept?
Yeah, so that really came from the first time I was an executive assistant, and as I matured into our operations lead, I was the one that would sit with the executive team defining our vision, mission, values, defining our annual goals, defining what projects we were going to be doing. I knew where the company was going because I got to sit in with the executives.
Mhm.
Then I got to relay that to our team, and they could go and take their pieces of the project and just thrive and do a great job with what they were there to do. And what would happen is our team would have questions, and instead of going directly to our executives, they could come to me. And so I was able to be that buffer between many questions as they come up and the strategic time on the executive team. And the same way, I got to give the updates to the executive team. Hey, do you know the status on this project? I could either already have that information from our team or go and get it for our executives. So I could just be the resource for our executive team and for all of our team members, just to give them each their time and energy to focus on what they were in the company to do.
I can imagine that really solves a lot of potential problems. Communication is always a challenge wherever you are. Doesn't really matter. And so when there's a process in place of how we communicate, how we connect, how we share information. So I love the idea of the buffer. That's great. Next question would be, what's one process improvement you've seen transform a small organization's ability to focus on the mission instead of getting sidetracked, stuck in what we would call operational chaos or operational muck?
Yes, and it is so easy to get stuck down in there in the weeds. Um, One of the smallest but most impactful things I've seen make a difference is having an agenda for your
Mm,
meetings.
okay.
You would be surprised, maybe you wouldn't be, but I was surprised at when I would show up to meetings, how there, I thought we were going to discuss one thing, but, my teammate thought we were going to discuss something else, but my COO was coming in with something else on his mind. And I was like, what are we actually discussing here? And there was no real driver because we all came with our own things, and there was no way to prioritize or know, kind of what was urgent versus what was important, versus we didn't even need to discuss these things at all, and it should have been a side conversation just between two team members. And so that was just, it was mucky. And the smallest thing was, okay, here's the agenda we're going to follow. Here's where you can add in your issues. Here's where we can discuss our scorecard metrics. Here's where we're going to highlight things that we've seen. Like, it became so much more clear, as well as like the outcome. We would go into the meeting knowing what the finish line was. Like, when we solve this, then we'll know that this was a successful meeting, and we're not going to leave till we get there.
That is such a critical point, because I think often, not always, but quite frequently, CEOs, presidents tend to be more on the visionary track, visionary side. And so they're seeing things at this 30,000 foot level, which is important, critical. But if you have just that, you don't have the operational side. And you can go into a meeting and you can be all over the board. At the end of the meeting, people say, okay, goodbye. And then they go into their offices or wherever. And then a week later, we forgot what we talked about. We don't know who's responsible for certain outcomes or certain processes that need to be realized. And we don't know what is an agreed upon conclusion as to what we want to see, where we want to go on that. And so I love what you're suggesting and how that can help. It seems minor. It almost seems insignificant. Of course, agenda. But it is easy to walk in and it's just sort of a free flow discussion, high pointing a few things, but not really tactically addressing critical issues. That brings me to my next question, because you use a particular system called EOS, which stands for Entrepreneurial Operation System or Operating System. So here's the question. For CEOs that feel as though they're wearing too many hats, what's the first step in implementing the system like EOS without adding more to their already full plate? And as you answer that, briefly talk about what is EOS.
Oh, sure. So EOS is an operating system. It really is just a framework in how we run the business. It has several things in place for things such as meeting agendas, for things as how we solve issues, how we make business decisions, and what we're doing. So it really just kind of helps establish how you run the business. And there are different types of frameworks. So EOS is just one of them, and one that I'm very familiar with and have seen a lot of success in. And for presidents or CEOs who already feel like they're wearing all the hats and sitting in all the seats and like, how can I add just one more thing? I would love just to call to mind that with boundaries comes freedom. It sounds like an oxymoron, but like, it's actually true. If we're driving our company down the road, if we're driving down the road, we don't want to go over the curb. You will ruin your car, you will get off balance, you could crash much more easily if you're driving off-road outside of the curbs that were put there to protect you and help you get to where you're going. And it's the same with frameworks, really, of any kind. And so my recommendation always to presidents or any executive leaders who are like, I want to do this, but I just don't know how because it's going to be too much and we just can't add it all at once. Choose one thing. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. And visionaries especially sometimes think that way. Oh, we're going to go all in and we're going to get it done. But you can just choose one thing, whether it's an L10 agenda, whether it is establishing your core values or your mission statement, whether it is determining what metrics need to be tracked to help you know where you're being successful or where you might need work. One thing at a time is going to help you, and then you'll feel that weight alleviated, and you'll be able to sit up a little straighter and be, oh, that's great. And you can build on that one step at a time.
Yeah. Well, we use EOS, where the nonprofit I serve at, we use it now for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it is, like you said, it's giving you a track to run on. So each person is reporting on what we call rocks, or sort of the big things over the next 90 days. So everybody knows what are the key initiatives for each person on the team. And then we can get into issues, which are, okay, these are things that sort of company-wide or are impacting things that we need to address in order to move the rock forward. So even like you said, identifying what are your main rocks that you want to accomplish in the next 90 days. That would be a great starting point. And just have a pad of paper if you don't want to record it. But yeah, that helps align everybody so they know where they're going and they know what does it look like when we get there. And donors want to know that so very much.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Here's a final question. When you're working with executives who are passionate about the cause, but struggling with operations, and that often is the case. High vision, love to communicate the story, but now the details are challenging and sometimes things slip through. What's sort of a key mindset shift that helps them become more effective leaders? Because if they don't figure that out, what often happens is people leave. They don't stay around. It's too chaotic. And then you got to retrain somebody else. So now you've got another year of training and you lose all that memory.
Yep.
So help our CEOs know how they can deal with that particular issue.
And visionaries are so passionate, and that is such a good thing.
Yes.
And I've been in the nonprofit world before, and I worked with a great organization, and our visionary just cared so much, and it was so great. But what I found was visionary whiplash. So I'm like, hey, we're doing microloans to moms in Zambia. That was what this organization did. That's great. That's something I can get behind, something I understand, something I will share this passion, and let's go chase that together. And then a couple months later, we showed up to our team meeting, and the visionary said, well, now we're going to focus on digital wallets. Okay, we're getting the loans, going to help them with the wallets. All right, let's do it. And then another couple weeks later, well, we're going to establish a training center for young adults in the area. I'm like, but how, we're losing our focus on our mission.
Yes.
And that is the thing that I encourage all the executives that I have worked with for a number of years in various industries, and various team sizes. Run everything through the filter of, does this line up with our vision, mission, values? Those are things I'm very passionate about sticking to, no matter the company, no matter the industry. Every decision, and especially decisions that affect the direction of the company,
Yeah.
it needs to align with your vision and your mission and your values. And if it doesn't align with all three of those, then it can't stay. Because your vision, mission, values should really not ever change. Those should be the steadying force of your organization or company. And so if you have a great idea, it's not to say that these great ideas are bad. Like, they're so good. They are
Yeah,
great ideas,
sure.
but they're not what you're on a mission to do. And if you, as a visionary, are constantly changing direction and changing your mind, your team gets frustrated,
Yeah.
and that's where you lose them.
Yeah. And that's where EOS has been so helpful. You talk mission, vision, mission, values. If you just had that triangle, one on each corner,
Hmm.
and you just had that bit in front of you, and then you just ask questions. Okay, great idea, but not for now,
Yep.
because this is where we're going and this is what's important.
Yeah.
Oh, love the practicality of all the things you're sharing. So I've got what I call the Fast Five
Sure.
here at the end. They're not related to what you do day in and day out, but they're related more to who you are. So, what's been maybe the best piece of professional advice you've ever received?
To remember that perception is reality. So what I may be saying from my perception may be different than what you hear from
Yeah,
your perspective.
right.
So knowing that has really helped me kind of understand a little bit more of what's been how the miscommunication might happen when I thought I was being completely clear.
Yeah. Happens in families and businesses,
Happens everywhere.
relationships, wherever we go. There it is. Okay. Question number two. What's a daily habit you cannot live without?
Outside of reading the Bible, which is something I don't ever want to live without, smiling might be one. I smile a lot, and
Yeah.
it gets me through the day, even in the hard things I don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. I love your smile. That's great. You're wonderful to do that. I want you to go back to your 20-year-old self. And if you could give a piece of advice to that young, aspiring young lady, what would you say?
I would tell her to write down all the things that she learns, like the little nuggets, the little phrases, such as perception is reality, or um, sometimes you have to modify the plan. Any just of these small nuggets to write them down and revisit them
Hmm.
now and then. Uh, I know that I have lost things that I learned back from the time I was 20 years old that I wish I would have written down to revisit.
Yeah, great advice. Okay, we're going to dig a little deeper now. I want you to think of what we could call a personal failure. It's not epic by any means, but really, I want you to focus on the other side. How did that experience set you up for success later in life?
Um, on a professional failure side, uh, I remember the first time I was truly in an executive assistant spot working with the COO. Um, he said, "How do you like to receive constructive feedback?" And I was like, "Oh no, I did something wrong."
Yeah,
Right? Like
really.
I knew it was coming, and so I'm like, I'm a softie, like be gentle. And he said, "Hey, I appreciate that you're trying to get the updates and whatever, but when you are constantly asking me questions and sending me notes on, we used Teams, but whether it's Slack or text or whatever, it's like when you're constantly pinging me, it's pulling me out of the strategic time that I'm trying to give our company."
Yeah.
And I remember being at the playground watching my kids play and just being so upset because I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, that's
Mm,
the opposite of what I'm here to do.
yeah,
Like, I'm here to
that's
give you
it.
time back. And I just felt horrible. And since that point, I have really kept that in mind, and it has been um, a shaping moment for how I interact, especially with executives.
Mm,
Um, Finding a method of updates that works not just for me and my timing and clients' timings, but also for our executives' timing, like
yeah.
what works. And so every time I begin engagements with executives, I'm like, hey, let's establish how we're getting updates.
Right.
When do I raise the flag? Is it daily, weekly? What are the emergencies to be on the lookout for? And so
Yeah.
that really helped shape my my executive relationships after that
Yeah.
point.
Oh. great, great learning experience. So yeah, I hear you. Last question. What's your favorite place on earth to disconnect and recharge?
I really like being up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. At night when the sky is clear and you can just lay lay on the ground and look up at all the stars. It is just the most beautiful place where I can go.
Yeah, yeah. Being in nature is so rejuvenating
Yeah.
as we sort of let things go a little bit more, tend to relax, certainly.
Yep.
And just love that. Well, Holly, what a delight to connect with you. You bring a lot of practical insights into the nonprofit world. So, so very grateful for that. And say, if people want to reach out to you in any way, how would they do that?
You can always find me on LinkedIn. Uh,
Okay.
so I, you know, you can. I'm always around. Always happy to chat and connect and do whatever I can to support anyone that I can.
Well, great. I know just making yourself available is the kind of thing where people are saying, I'm not too sure what I would do in this situation. I heard Holly talk about that. I'm going to reach out to her. So thank you for adding value to this community. Well, so glad that you could join us today, the audience, Funding Your Future Now podcast. I'm Dr. Randy Dirks. And you can certainly reach out to me on LinkedIn, as Holly noted. That's where I reside often. And my website is randydirks.com. So until the next episode, I'll see you then. Bye now.